You're live.
All right, cool. So, for those of you who don't already know me, and I hope you do for those of you that are in this room, but for those of you that are on video, again, my name is James, and I go by DJ Afrolicious. Today, we're just going to be doing a little presentation on mashups, which I would hope that everybody here would know a little bit something about, but this is going to be about creating a unique sound for your listeners and for your events.
Nice.
Now, what is a mashup? Now, the dictionary definition, you could call it a mixture or fusion of disparate elements, or in layman's terms, I like this song, me add this song together.
Yeah.
Simple as that. But the most common type of mashup you hear is usually when you add another song's vocals to another instrumental. That's usually pretty common, and it can kind of vary between genres and, of course, between artists. Now, why make or even use mashups? Well, if we're speaking on the event side, or really just any other sort of party, whether it be like a festival or just a house party, I mean, they're good to kind of bring surprises for your listeners, freshen up your sets a little bit, and kind of provide something that they won't be expecting, and it'll be a unique experience for them as opposed to just like plugging in a playlist. And of course, you can play multiple different versions of songs for different purposes too, because you may have used them before, or you may be new to using mashups to where you can have some that are maybe more hype, you can have some that are maybe more background music. So it really just kind of depends on what you want to use it for, and just being able to read the crowd and be able to apply it at the right time. And of course, having more variety of songs that can be played within a shorter period of time. Especially, you know, for example, say if you're DJing like a team dance or like a kid's birthday party, shorter attention spans, you want to be able to mix quicker, for example. So you want to make sure that you have mixes that can complement that sort of style, be able to get more in, while also being able to think about things less. Makes things way easier to go about doing any sort of live set, or even just if you're at home, really. Now again, we kind of talked about it a little bit. We want to know when to use a mashup. Now of course you want to kind of be able to train that timing to be able to use it correctly, like I mentioned before. And you also don't want to do it too much, because then they'll get used to that. It'll be kind of like be very patternized, if that's a word that you can use. So you want to make sure that it's dispersed. I usually say every now and then. For my particular style, it's very mashup based, but even for mine, I still try to space it between at least 1 to 2 songs to at least like give some other songs to the time to breathe. That way it's just like original songs just playing here and there and not being like mashup back to back to back, even though it's great. But you just want to be able to space things out just to keep some variety. And of course, the timing is key on that, like I explained. Again, with the high energy sets, maybe just disperse them here and there. Use more other songs that are more high energy, rely on those, and then have that energy just carry you through there. Now you may be asking, where do you find mashups if you aren't going to be making any yourself? Well, a lot of DJ pools can provide them, and you may know those. For example, DJ City, Beat Source, or BPM Supreme are some examples of that. But if we're looking for stuff that is very like set specific, or stuff for live stuff, like maybe you want some cuts for your weddings or cuts for other events, there's actually a lot of DJs that you can follow online that actually just provide their own custom crates that you could just download there. So I know, for example, Eric Rhodes, Joe Maz are a couple examples of, they provide like whole crates that you can just subscribe to and just use their stuff for events, because it's very tailored to that specific style. And of course, if you were looking to make mashups, there's a couple different ways you can do it. The way that I kind of started out doing was with Serato DJ and Serato Studio, since especially with Studio, it's very much a very friendly, user-friendly DAW to be able to kind of get things started from there. Right now, I personally use Logic to put all my stuff together, so it's a little bit more fixed. Ableton is also a very common resource to use. And when it comes to learning all those, enroll in good old YouTube University to do all that stuff, to be honest, because there's tons of different resources that you can honestly get for free to be able to learn it yourself. And it's all really just about building a good workflow in between how you want your mashups to sound like, and then also taking some time to learn how to master everything, making sure your vocals sound right, making sure that you are in key when you do the mashups, because you I can see everything. But of course, everything doesn't have to be exactly in key, but of course, keeping things the same sort of like sound sonically, make sure that everything blends really well together. It makes your life a hell of a lot easier as opposed to having to pitch things. And the audience can pick up on pitches too, especially when it's different from stuff that they're not normally used to or stuff that they are used to, and they'll be like, oh, this is slightly different, and they'll be able to recognize it. Usually the goal is we want them to not be able to recognize it, to be so seamless to where they're like, oh wait, how do we even get it here? Like 40 minutes later, you got a different song. So you want to make sure the mixing is in key when you do it, make sure the timing is there, and make sure that you have a good workflow to be able to do it. So it just comes with practice mostly. And now I'm just going to give you a brief demonstration for a couple of examples of things you could do. If I can get out of here, there we go. All right, so the first one I'm going to start with is going to be one example of certain mashups that you can often do or make. And I usually like to say, just go ahead and create stuff. Don't worry about if somebody else has made it or not. Just do it and put your own little personal touch on it. Because I'm sure that we've heard hundreds of thousands of mixes of this one where I do Tap In by Saweetie and Blow the Whistle, because they are obvious samples of each other, so it makes sense to do a mashup between those two. So for this example, just since you can't see it on my end, I'm using Serato DJ, and I tend to use stems a lot for my sets, especially. So here we're just going to be taking out the instrumental for Saweetie at a certain time, and then bringing in 2 shorts verse when it starts. So it should sound a little something like this.
Low waist, back, baby, tap in. Tap in. Diamonds dancing on your neck, tap in. Tap in. Getting money, get rich, baby, tap in. Tap in. MLB, I see gang, better tap in. Tap in.
I go on and on, can't understand how it lasts so long. I must have superpowers, rap 225,000 hours. Get a calculator, do the math. I made 1,000 songs, I made you move it. And for the last 300 months, I made 16 albums with me on the front. And they fuck, where you get your beats? I heard 93 rappers say like me. 2 singers and 10 comedians, and I'm still gon' yell it every time you see me in. What's my favorite word? Why they gotta say it like short? You know they can't play on my court, can't hang with the big dogs, stay on the porch. Blow the whistle.
Low waist, back, baby, tap
Blow the
in.
whistle.
Tap in. Diamonds dancing on your neck, better tap
Blow the
in.
whistle.
Tap in.
So that's one example of something you could do where it's original and sampled. In this case, they were already both in the same key, so it makes it relatively easy to mix into those two.
Sound like the same song to me.
Exactly. That's because they basically are the same
Exact
song. So stuff like that is an example of a good place to really start out, where you just can you can just hear something like, oh, this was sampled from here. Maybe let's try doing the original into the newer version, or vice versa is usually a good place to start with that. And now for my second example, it's going to be more of like a wordplay. So I'm sure we see tons of clips here and there, people matching up certain words of other songs with certain words of that song. So for example, this one I'm using Losing It by Fisher and Lose Control by Missy Elliott. that one, but still kind of using similar word plays with lose it, losing control. That way those two kind of blend together. Makes a very unique mix in that case.
One more.
Okay, cool. All right. But yeah, otherwise that's going to be pretty much it for my brief little presentation on mashups. Do we have any questions?
Nice work. I have a question.
Yes.
Thank you, first of all. Those were great presentations and great demonstrations. Some people may ask that's watching this video on YouTube, what is he doing with his hands? So we see, of course, we understand as DJs that you have to nudge the song in order to make sure that it's calibrated and that it stays in point. Is that what you were doing? If so, can you explain what nudging may mean so people have a better understanding?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the case of it being a live set especially, we're going to need to be able to be on count with everything. And so what I was essentially doing with mine was essentially just giving it slightly little nudges. So of course I believe going clockwise is going to be moving it forward, while it's going counterclockwise is moving the song backward ever so slightly. And usually you can of course see when you're in Serato especially, but it should be the same case when you're in any other DJ software, where you can see those beats and be able to match them up there. And that's what these little nudges are for, to make sure that everything's right there. And you also just want to keep that internal counter on your head. Sometimes it helps when you can bop a little bit. You can tap your foot, for example, would be a good way to keep everything nudged, but that's essentially what I was going to be doing. And especially with mine too, my board has MIDI to where the stems are available on the board itself. So it gives myself easy access to be able to do all the mashups.
Very cool.
Kind of seems like you're painting almost.
yeah, essentially painting a picture
It's an artist,
through
yeah.
music, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
Because in a way, DJs are also artists in their own right, or instrumentalists in their own right. So you kind of want to take a similar approach to that and approach it like it's your art. You know, like I mentioned earlier, you want to be able to put your stamp on music and just make what you want to make and not have to worry about if it's already done, or even if it's like something completely ridiculous, you can just go kind of wherever with it. So I just encourage you to just create and just try new things.
Love it. Thank you. Any other questions?
I just had a comment. I feel like AI is really helpful. Like if you're like having a brain fart or whatever, you're like, hey, what's a good song to mash up with this one or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah,
It's like
absolutely.
not necessarily when you're live mixing or whatever, but like at home or whatever. Just find some mixes. So
Yeah, and to kind of piggyback on that too, AI is also just a good place to kind of get yourself ideas, especially.
oh, yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily use it as a crutch, you know, when it comes to doing stuff live.
No, absolutely not.
Definitely like using it in practice is a good idea, to just be like, oh, like I have this idea that I want to do, but I need a little extra assistance to it. So that's exactly the best way to go about it.
That's great.
Sweet.
Well, James, thank you so much, bro. That was amazing.
Yeah.
We're gonna go wrap this video up.